Hello, friends. David Vos here, down here at the park. It's kind of a cloudy day, sprinkling ever so often. A little chilly. It's in the low 40s. Tomorrow's going to be up in the 50s, and then it's going to get back up in the 60s and 70s in a couple of days. I had a really weird epiphany just a second ago, and I thought, man, I'm going to real quickly do a small video on this because I think it's pretty interesting thought that I was just having. We all talk about how in our day, in this modern day and age, there's too much television. We should be outside playing or working or running with the dogs or fishing and, the things that people used to do. But instead, we're watching television. They talk about how it's causing people to be obese. We're sitting around eating potato chips and watching television. And we all know that it's propaganda and it's ridiculous and it's silly. In the back of our mind, we're sitting there watching it and we're thinking, boy, I should be out doing something. But you see, we don't have to, because we have a certain amount of time that is set aside for work. We work 8 hours a day, most of us, some of us. And it's usually 5 days a week or something like that. And so we get through that because we have to do it. And when we come home, we want to sit down. We want to relax. We're tired. So what do? We turn on the television. We get lost in a fantasy movie, or some of us are addicted to the news to find out when or how or if the president will be impeached, or are they going to get Adam Schiff and bring him to trial, and is Hillary going to get locked up? And we're just waiting on pins and needles. Months goes by and weeks and months and years go by and nothing really has changed, but we're still glued to the seat. We're addicted to it like a drug. But that wasn't the epiphany. The epiphany was something else here. That's just, sort of prelude to what I'm about to say, because that's just something that we all, I think, kind of know in the back of our mind. I mean, not saying a lot of us don't say, yeah, I like watching movies. I enjoy it. This is what I want to do. I'm not being forced into it. I like these movies. They're good movies, and they're fantasies, and I like sci-fi, and I like the whodunits and the, and the mysteries and the thrillers and the fights in Manila. It's something that we enjoy. But that's kind of like walking up to a heroin addict and saying, how do you enjoy your heroin? They'd probably say, well, I can't live without it. Got to have it. But if you said, is it good for you? What would they say? Well, probably not. But, they can't even bring themselves to say no sometimes. Some of them might, but some of them might just say, well, probably. But, I just got to do it, and I'm addicted, and, one day I'll quit or something, but so that's how they kind of justify it. Well, it's the same thing with people who watch television. They say, well, it's probably not good for me, but it's probably things I should be doing outside, or, yeah, I could be doing it, but there's nothing to do. I'm bored. No, actually, in order to do stuff, you have to have a quiet mind to think. You allow your own thoughts to sort of bubble up from your innermost being, and they kind of bubble up to the surface, and then you have this inspiration, like, oh boy, you're standing there with nothing to do, and you look around and, oh, look, there's a dog. Your immediate instinct, just like a bee that's drawn to that flower, you go straight over there to the dog and you laugh, and you wrestle with the dog in the grass, and you pick flowers, and pretty soon you're lost in what? Joy, happiness. Right? There it was all along. That's the way it was supposed to be. That's the way it's always been. The problem is, though, that we're not capable, we're not alone long enough to have our own thoughts. Before that thought bubbles its way up there, before that inspiration reaches us from above, we're locked in a room Probably the door's locked even, especially if you're in the inner cities and stuff. All your doors are locked, chained, barred, windows barred, locked. And you're stuck in this, probably a small living room and a chair or sofa or whatever, a big screen television. And it's just really easy to wake up and say, I'm tired. I'm just going to sit in this chair. Well, what's on TV? And boom, there it is. And that's where you're going to stay the rest of the day. And so if you're going to be sitting there, you're going to eat potato chips. The whole thing, the whole experience is not good for you. So what is the epiphany? The epiphany is this. What we're doing is not because we like it, even though that's what we're saying to ourselves. I'm doing this because I want to. I know it's probably not so good, but let's just, nothing else to do. I'm bored. The epiphany here is that we're being herded into the herd mentality, as they say it. We've been given a society that we don't understand is destroying us. We kind of below the surface know it is, but we really can't get out because it takes a little bit of will. Think about this. If you're standing on a cliff, you could make one step and that would be the last step you'd ever take. Very easy to do. Just one step. It's very easy to do. It'd take about a split second. But how hard would that be to do? How hard would that be? That one step would be the hardest step you've ever taken. And nobody wants to take that step, of course, but it's just a point that something that could be so easy would be that hard. And so that's what this is like. It would just be so easy for you to get up, turn off the television, get in your car and go somewhere, go fishing. Say, well, I don't know how to fish. I'm not a fisherman, Dave. Well, I don't have any fishing gear. All right, go get you a camera. Take pictures of wildlife. Well, I am not a photographer, Dave. I don't have a dog. I can't go out in the country. I live in the city. There ain't nowhere around here to go. Move. Well, I've been living here all my life. Now, I've been sitting on this chair all my life, Dave. I ain't going to get out of this chair. It's just, hey, I'm getting too old, man. I'm in my 40s now. All right, well, then you got very little time left. You better go do something. I was telling somebody the other day, if somebody was asking me where I'm from, and I said, well, I'm just about from everywhere. I was born in California, and I think we went to Wyoming when I was about 5 or something, and back to California, and back to Idaho, and back to, it was, I've lived all over the place, New Mexico, and Arizona, and Texas, and now I'm in Oklahoma, and more than that. I've moved around. I've seen some things. I've climbed a lot of mountains. I've, done that, where you see these people that are climbing a sheer cliff with these, they got these little, they got this equipment. It looks like a cable, and there's these screws that are with a little hook that they screw into the rock, and they clip their cable to the thing, and because if they make one wrong move, they're gone. So they have safety cables so they don't die. They're climbing straight up. Remember that movie Cliffhanger with Sylvester Stallone? That was a kind of a suspenseful movie. Well, he did that without, well, I don't even remember if he had cable there, but I did something similar to that in my life. I've climbed mountains like that, sheer cliffs, just overlooking air for thousands of feet, completely straight up and down. And the only way to get across that straight up and down cliff is maybe a half-inch little crevice in the rock you get your little tennis shoe on, because I didn't wear the proper boots or the proper gear. But I was trying to go down the mountain in one area, and there was a lot of rocks at the base of the mountain, and they started to move, and there was an avalanche. And I took off running over the top of the rocks and just missed these big boulders going flying around over my head and all around me. Just kind of ran out of the way and just barely got out of there before all the rocks settled. And at that point, I realized it was too unstable. I couldn't go down. I had to go back up. And up was straight up, a straight cliff. There was, and I was so scared. I was crying. I was shaking. And at this one point, my face is up against this cliff and my arms are outstretched and I'm grasping for one little nick or, niche or something in the rock and my, out there in my tennis shoes and I was just shaking and I looked down and the whole world was spinning and I thought I was going to fall and I had another 10 or 15 feet to go before I could get a place where I could grab onto something real well. And I really thought that it was over. And I didn't do it on purpose, but I in my days, and I could tell you another story where I hung from a branch wedged in between the cliff and a branch, dangling over a river because I had fallen into the river and gone down river. I can't swim. Anyway, I won't tell you any more of these two stories, but I've seen a lot of things. And my point is that I have these memories. Some of them are a little exciting, and some of them are scary, and some of them are intense, but they're my memories. It's life. I'm telling you, if you don't get out and do stuff, you don't got a life. What is your memory going to be when you get to be 70 or 80 and you're laying there breathing your last? Well, I remember I lived in this one town and that's where I was born and let's see, well, and then I died, okay? Because all I ever did was sit on this couch, right? My entire life. Well, I had a child along the way. I remember taking him to school and bringing him home and we'd sit around the television and eat potato chips and once in a while we'd go to Walmart and play on the little kiddie ride and there's a few memories. Everybody's got some memories. But it's just very, very poor memories. That's all you got. Well, I got to go to work, Dave. What do you want me to do? I ain't got time. When I get off work, I'm tired. I'm a slave, Well, see, that's the kind of life you choose. Well, I've got to keep up with the Joneses a little bit. I got to have a house and we've got, got to have a car. And so I've got to have this job and that makes me a slave and it's not my fault. Well, it is true to an extent, but we also choose, say when you were younger, before you had kids, you chose to go get a career. That was what you were told. Well, I got to go get a career. I got to go to college. I got to get on this wheel, and go round and round and around this wheel so I can get my cheese. They'll open the gate and throw in some cheese and, maybe I can go find some lint to make me a little nest and go to sleep and I can just sleep in this little cage and that's comfortable. They'll throw some cheese in and I'll be fine. But we're not rats in a cage. And that's what we are doing in this world. And it's our choice whether we know it or not. It's your choice if you're addicted to heroin. I know it's hard, but it was your choice to start doing it. And the more you did it, the harder it became to quit. And so every step of the way, it's your choice until you enslave yourself. And even after you're enslaved and completely addicted to heroin, you could still find a way. Might be the hardest thing you ever did, but you can find a way to get off of it. And it's worth it. You can get up out of that chair and you can do it. My dog's barking. Bonnie. 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 Bonnie, come on. Come on. Get in. Okay. Anywho, dog was barking at some people over here, so I had to get him in. But yeah, you can do it. But it is going to be difficult. You're going to have to make a conscious effort and come up with a plan. You say, well, I can't move, Where am I going to go? What am I going to do? Hey, I can't give you ideas. I mean, what I do with my life is what I do. And you have your own thoughts and hopes. I mean, maybe you want to be a mountain climber, or I wouldn't do it. I don't like, I mean, I climb mountains. I've climbed a lot of them, but I don't purposely try to go up a cliff and endanger my life. I'm kind of scared of heights, and yet I've had to do this, but it was exciting because it came along. I like climbing. A lot of these mountains, like, some of these mountains can just be, you just hike up the mountain. And it's not a big deal. It's just a trail, but when you get up there, just a nice half a day hike, maybe, Mount Elbert's a good one. It's the third highest mountain in the continental United States. Or it might be the second highest. But anyway, it's just a trail. You go all the way to the top. When you get to the top, you're looking over the whole, it's like you can see all of Colorado practically. And there's a lot of mountains that you can do that. And it's a fun thing. Take a trip. I don't mean you got to go to Disneyland, that could be fun. But there's other things to do. You can go to Yellowstone. You can go camping. It doesn't have to cost a lot of money. But more than just a few little trips here and there, because a lot of people do that throughout their life. They'll say, well, let's go to Yellowstone or Glacier National Park or something. And oh boy, we saw some deer that year, and got a little book with all the pictures that, of course, nowadays it's all in our phone, and we lose the phone and we lose all our pictures. But really we ought to think about what we can do to change our lives. So it's not just going to work every day like a slave and coming home, sitting on a couch and watching television. It's going to take a plan, but we have to say, maybe we're married, we have to sit down with our spouse and say, look, I want to have some memories. I want to do something. Maybe you're going to get in a plane. First of all, you got to go down and get a passport and maybe even a visa or whatever, and go somewhere. Go to, say you're poor. All right. You'd like to have a really good job, pays like $20, $30 an hour, but where are you going to get that? Well, there are people in the world that pay that kind of money. Down at the southern tip of Argentina, there's a place, I can't remember what it's called, but they're digging for oil down there, and they're hiring people. There's people, you can go to Alaska and make a lot of money. You can go, there's things you could come up with and still make a living and still make money. You could apply for a park ranger. May take you a while to get that job. Apply for a postal job. You can apply for things. Do something different. Shake it up. Go work in a public, a national park as a ranger, or be a photographer. Start a YouTube channel. I don't know. Look, we could go on and on coming up with ideas. Be a journalist. That would be something you could do that would make a difference. Take your camera and go to these areas where these things are happening and take pictures and give us the real scoop. But make your life adventurous. Do something. Get off your butt. Because you're too addicted. You're too tired. I'll tell you, a lot of you saying, you know what? I've tried, Dave. I get up out of this chair and I'm just so weak. I'm so tired. I'm almost 60 now and I'm tired, and, my life's about over. So I'm just going to lay down here and give up. You want to know why you're so tired? It's not because you're almost 60. It's not because you're old. It's because of what you eat and drink. I will guarantee that if you stop eating sugar and all of this white flour and preservatives and all of this hydrogenated oils, just that right there, and start eating food that is natural, more natural and raw, and food that's been cooled down and allowed to retain the bacteria, the natural bacteria, fermented foods and stuff, and start eating right, you'll have the energy again. I've experienced this a few times in my life. I've gone to drinking beer for a while, a few times. Man, oh man, I'd start feeling so tired the next day. And I was like, what's wrong with me? I was like in my 20s. And I was like, I'm so tired, my back hurt, and I started getting arthritis. That's because of the beer. You know it. And sugar, I'd binge eat a whole bag of Reese's, a whole box of peppermint candies or whatever, man. Oh, let's go eat a whole bag of cookies, right? Let's go to Walmart and buy donuts and eat the whole box. That's how we live sometimes. You gotta live better than that. It takes a little bit of work and you can be healthy. You can feel the energy. Think about, we all know that you can eat sugar and your body will burn that sugar as energy. But have you ever felt how good you feel just after you had some sugar? You ever seen your kids eat a bunch of sugar and they're dancing and bouncing around, bouncing off the walls and everything? That's because sugar's energy. However, because the body takes that sugar and converts it to alcohol. And it burns it. You can burn alcohol. That's why when you go to the gas station, it says 10% alcohol. Yeah. Real pure alcohol is flammable. It's like gas. So your body is making a gasoline when it ferments the sugar. So you can burn that. However, that's not the only thing you can burn. That's one way to eat. But in nature, you don't find a lot of foods with a lot of sugar, except these hybrid foods like bananas and apples and, peaches and stuff. That's very few trees in the wild are peach trees, if you ever went out and looked, or berries. And if there are berries and stuff, they only come usually in the late summer. And the bears eat them in the summer to get fat, because it makes you fat. It turns the excess sugar it stores as fat. And it's to hibernate, so you can get through the winter. Turns it into fat. But most of the trees, if you look around, that you can pick the fruit and it's good all year round, like nuts and seeds and that kind of thing, they're an oil-based food. Nuts have a lot of oil. They're not real sweet. And there's lots and lots and lots of food in nature that we won't even eat today because we say, oh, it's too bitter, like an acorn. Do you know that you can eat acorns? The average person today don't like acorns because they're bitter. Like, that's nasty. Spit it out. Right? You can barely eat a pine nut. You're like, it doesn't taste good. That's bitter. Well, it's only a little bitter to us because we're not used to eating food. We're addicted to the sugar. Sugar burns fast. What we need to eat is oil-based diet. So meat has oil. The fat is in the meat, but it has to be organic. It has to be preferably a wild animal that is not fed genetically modified corn and stuff like that. So, but our diet should be nuts and a few berries in the summertime. I mean, you can have dessert, yeah, but your diet should be an oil-based diet. And then oil will also burn. An oil lamp burns. You can take just about any kind of oil and it'll burn. Animal fat. You can make candles out of it. Well, it burns slower than gasoline. Gasoline is highly combustible. It's boom, makes an explosion, and it's all burned up quick. So you eat sugar, and it burns hot, and you burn out fast, and you get old, and you age. Excuse me. But if you eat oil, it gives you the energy you need, and it lasts all day. You have that energy, and you don't burn out. And the oil doesn't, what you don't use, it just goes out the other end. And so it doesn't make you continually gain weight. And you get healthier and healthier eating real natural oils and fats with the omega-3 and good cholesterol that your body needs. It converts itself into youth, right? The oil throughout your entire body, every cell is made out of it. Your brain can't regenerate without these oils, those natural oils, and your tissue and your flesh, your bones and everything has got to have these nutrients and this cholesterol, and your cartilage. You don't get arthritis, and it's not so acidic. So anyway, I'm just saying, don't think even if you're getting older that, well, I don't feel good, I can't do it. You can, but you're going to have to make a different life. You're going to have to come up with a new life where you start slowly learning how to eat differently and getting some exercise and going and putting down the remote control and going outside, going fishing, starting new hobbies. Maybe you're going to have to move. Maybe you're going to have to change everything about your life. But your memories will improve. Your happiness will improve. And then there's a lot of other things that we can do. just our attitude and how to, our spiritual beliefs have got to change. We've got to start believing in ourselves. We've got to start believing in everyone around us. Just be there for people. Say, you can do it like it's your own child. Say, yes, you can do it, instead of having the attitude, oh, I don't like that person. I'm going to frown at this person. I'm going to make sure this person knows they didn't do a good job. If it was your child that didn't do a good job, you'd say, oh, honey, you can do better next time, right? Or you'll give them some criticism, but loving criticism. So we have to learn that everybody is our brother and our sister, and we need to love everybody and just be smiling, show people the example, and do the right thing. But this television is behind a lot of our problems because we get so caught up in the film. Like even the impeachment thing. I know it's important. We need our president to be in office, and this is important. What they're doing, it's wrong. However, they're making it a soap opera, and they're getting us sucked into it as if it's, in the end, we know our Father in heaven has got this. So even if we stop paying attention to it, it's going to be all right. Our Father in heaven has got it. We just need to do what we need to do. Like, we need to go out and vote. That's our job. That's the government we're in. It'd be like if you're in a big pen with a bunch of other cattle, right? And you get to vote on whether or not you get to leave and go have a good life. And you're like, yeah, I'll do it later. No, you better go out and vote. If there was a democracy amongst the, or a republic or something, a representative republic amongst the cattle, you should go and vote and say, yeah, I'd like to vote that we could go out and eat the daisies beyond the fence, and we can go down by the cool brook and enjoy our lives. You have an opportunity. If you do nothing, some of you are voting to stay in the pen because they got some really good alfalfa in there, right? And you don't have to do anything. You just lay around and eat. You're laying around and eating in your own feces, and you don't even remember how wonderful it was to go play in the daffodils and out there and picking the daisies. You've forgotten. And so we got to wake up. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and go, friends. I hope you guys have a really great day. This is David. We'll see you. David Bose. We'll see you again tomorrow. Have a good one.